Hi, and welcome to the Interdimensional Voyagers podcast. If you're listening to this and if you're watching it, undoubtedly you either be watching it on Dogman and Teepee Hunting on YouTube or on Facebook under my name, which you'll see just over there, Phil Cotwell. Today is a special day for me. I've been wanting to get this lovely lady on here for so long. But finally she's on, and it's Nancy Thames, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Hi. Nancy, can you tell us, first off, I have listened to quite a few of your podcasts. I think a lot of the audience would have listened. They know of you. You're getting quite a name now. Where can they find you, first of all, so they can get some reference material?
Sure. I have a website I created 5 years ago, I believe, 5 or 6 years ago, timefordisclosure.com. And then my Facebook group is open to the public, and it's Time for Disclosure / We Have Never Been Alone. And then / I added this, we are the disclosure. And I will explain all that, why I added that. So, yeah, and I belong to a lot of groups. So I'm very easily found on Facebook, by my name, Nancy Thames, and it's spelled Thames.
Okay.
So I love having an open platform, open to the public for people that have had an interest in this for a long time, or just now starting to get an interest, or people that are just kind of sticking their toe in, finding out what this is all about. What is the purpose? What is the meaning? Why is all these things happening on Earth at this time? So, it's there for everyone.
Okay. Why are these things happening?
Because humanity is reaching higher levels of consciousness.
Okay.
At a most pivotal point in our history of time, this is the biggest event since our creation. We are advancing, and we are leaving a 3D negative realm that we've been in for eons, and branching out into a higher dimensional level, which means higher consciousness, higher intelligence, higher understanding and awareness, and a more focus on unity and peace and love. We are realizing that our old ways of living no longer serve us. And what I mean is wars. They no longer serve us. They serve us no positive purpose. And there's many, many other things that are breaking down within our society that we have known for a long time. They're breaking down. But I think that in history, a lot of our governments and a lot of people said, okay, we'll just put this on the back burner and not deal with it. We'll be dead and gone. We'll let the next generation deal with this. But that's over with. I mean, our world is changing right before our eyes. Not only us as human beings are changing, but our planet Earth is also changing. And she's going through her ascension, and her consciousness level is increasing. And so, this is a big pivotal moment, a change of time. And the difference now than any time in the past that we've had these kind of like leaps of evolution or change. We're more aware now. We are at a higher level of consciousness. So we notice more than we did 10,000 or 5,000 or even 500 or 100 years ago. Awareness is better.
Nancy, that one thing is we're more aware of everything around us. That is correct. But maybe 1,500 years ago, 2,000 years ago, even, let's have a look, if I was to say 300 years ago, I would be living in a small village. All I would know is news that would come from a traveller walking up the road, probably selling his wares, and I'd be saying, oh, Bert, what's going on in the next village? What's going on? And he might come up with a story so mind-boggling. He'd be like, "No, you never guess, Phil. They're corralling people, and they're going to have a war." I go, "No, not well. It's nothing to do with us because I live in this little village." Part of the reason is because everything is more on open to us, pumped out to us. We're more aware because of technology. We're more aware. We wouldn't know years ago. We would have no idea what was going on in the greater world.
Mm-hmm.
So that, I think, plays a big part.
Oh,
is
absolutely.
that part of the is that part of the alien, the grey idea? Is that technology giving us this technology? Is it them giving us this?
Yes, they've helped us throughout our lives, throughout the beginning of time. They have given us spurts of information. I think even some of the movies, some of the better movies, like Steven Spielberg type movies, Close Encounters or E.T., those type movies were a introduction, a way of getting us acclimated into what we were going to be going through right now, what we're looking at right now. So yeah, technology, there's nothing that can be hidden from us anymore, and there was information that's been suppressed for about 80 years on the Roswell crash, on, extraterrestrials in our sky, et cetera, and especially what the government knew about these things. They suppressed it all in the disguise that they thought their excuse was we would not be able to handle it. Well, the extraterrestrial interdimensionals know what is in our best interest. They don't claim to have created us totally. To me, they say they played a part. They played a part in our creation. So they've been around before and watched us all this time. So they know exactly when we're ready. They can look at the frequency level of humanity among this whole planet and see, where our consciousness level is, which means our knowledge, our understanding, what we're open to. And there's also, they can approach us in our dream states and kind of get a realistic view, not the censored view that the world around us in our everyday life, that, we're locked in by boundaries of being shamed by other people or flagged as an idiot or a tinfoil hat lover and stuff. So in our dream state, they can approach us without those boundaries and really see and understand how we truly feel, what our soul level is, where we are on our spiritual growth here on this planet.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I got you. Let's have a look. Martin Brown. Hi, Martin. That's why misinformation is so powerful, especially if you don't know where or from whom it is coming. Yeah, that's a good point. Very good point. Of misinformation.
And that's why I say, you noticed I said that I would explain why I say we are the disclosure. That is because human beings are the disclosure. Humanity is the disclosure, because extraterrestrials have been around since our creation. They were here before us. What's unique about all of this now is human beings waking up, getting in tune with and understanding who we truly are. All of us made a choice to come to Earth, whether we remember it or not. We all made a choice to come here, and we are all here for a purpose, a reason. We're here to experience certain things. We're here to do some things. Some of us chose to come to Earth to be part of this big evolutionary leap that humanity is going through. And this is the biggest thing, like I said, since our creation. And we are going to be a generation that not only experiences this big leap of evolution, but also the potential to make the right decisions, which I think we will, to go to the more positive aspects of being the better of a human being, rather than staying locked in the 3D realm where we're looking at World War III and the destruction of part of our civilization. So I'm hoping we pull more towards the bright side, the beautiful side.
Okay. No, I do as well. I do. Nancy, the Congressional Committee, after hearing a private skiff with David Grush, they're evidently going to release material on October the 18th. This is pertaining to UFO documentation. Is that something that you are personally worried about, or that you're
No.
do you have an idea of what they're going to release? Have you got in a, I bet you have. I can see you laughing. I can see
Yeah.
you smiling. You know, don't you?
Well, I know what I know, and I know what they don't know. And when I look at this, I just did an article this morning and posted in my group because, I saw a group of people wanting to know, how do we know between real UFOs and man-made UFOs? So I did a
Mm.
whole article about this, and I'll just go into it if you want me to. I'll just kind of, I won't do the
Yeah,
whole
yeah.
thing, but
I'd love to hear. Yeah, I'd love to
well,
hear. I mean, let's keep to the thing of let's keep to the theme of them releasing information on the 18th of October, and kind of keep to that, so that when you tell us, we can go right now.
okay.
Basically, what I'm saying is, if you know any little nuggets, let us know. Go
Well,
on.
I don't know, I'm not privileged to know what they're going to put out. Let's put it that way.
Mm.
But what I know is that we have the government seems to be all focused on the craft and the propulsion part of
Mm.
the craft, not so much the pilots of the craft. I think it's more important that we should know who these beings are that are piloting these craft. And, of course, they'll go, well, it's probably drones or it's probably robots, because everyone, including the government, is trying to humanize beings that are billions of years ahead of us in evolution. There is no humanizing this phenomena. They are not humans. They are billions
Mhm.
of years ahead of us in our intellectual thinking, our consciousness, awareness, et cetera, et cetera. So there is no
Uh-huh.
humanizing it. Their craft are living conscious beings. We are not at that consciousness, intelligent level to be able to do this. I mean, we just have to accept the fact.
Would if
We
we reach that level, Nancy, would we recognize we reached that level? How would we know? Would they just like? Would it be a case of, if we reach that frequency, that level? How would I know I've attained that? By hours of meditation, or by realizing the fact that I see a glorious aura of glow around beings that come out? I'm not making any. I'm not making it sound cheap anyway. What I'm trying to get at is, how would I know when I've reached? People often say to me, Phil, you've got to meditate, because I guess what? I'll let you into a secret. For about a 3-day period, after a very low point, and after seeing a shadow being. Okay, get this, Nancy. I saw this shadow being, and it's common knowledge. I've told a lot of people about it. It scared the bejesus out of me. It really did scare the bejesus. So much so, I had I had a bit of weed come out. Really, really scared me. Okay. Now, 3 days afterwards, for that period, I had this feeling of enlightenment, almost as if, I'll tell you what it felt like to me, that everything I was seeing and experiencing was being sent up, and I was like a transmitter sending up whatever I saw up to a most glorious being that in so doing was giving me this lovely feeling of just security and warmth. That's the only time I was told to keep meditating, Phil. Keep meditating. You can get that feeling all the time. Very difficult in today's world and in today's society to go around meditating to that extent, I think. But if I did, how would I know if I reached or attained the level you're talking about?
we cannot attain that level at this frequency that we're in. We are in a 3D realm. We're moving to the fourth dimension. Dimensions are not physical places. They're higher levels of consciousness, intelligence. So whatever dimension we're in, that is the limit to the amount that we can reach. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
With me, when I was little, my frequency was much lower, and they would take a handheld device or do it through their higher consciousness and like go up. I could feel it going through my body, up and down, head to toe, head to toe. And they were changing the frequency of my human body to match their frequency. And when they did that, it wasn't me doing it, it was them doing it. Then they would take me by the hand and then they would take me through a roof, through a ceiling, through a window. So they are at levels of consciousness that we're not even close to at this period of time. You know, we will evolve, but that is not within our range at any you know.
Right. So basically, I would not be able to. You would not have gained the revelations and experiences you gained unless you had that. Let's call it a sonic screwdriver. If you had that sonic screwdriver, that gave you the ability to parallel your frequency to theirs. So they helped you get into that frequency.
Exactly, and they can help us. But we have to evolve to a level that it will be not of abuse. You know.
So could you honestly, could I or you gain that frequency without that sonic screwdriver?
Through evolution. How
long will that take?
I don't know. It depends on us. You know, in their reality, there is no such thing as time. It depends on our mental capability. At this point in this time, our brains would be overwhelmed. It would be too much for our brain to process. We would basically melt down. That's why evolution is already, it's encoded in our DNA. These things are encoded in for that very reason. Things have to take a slow process for us to absorb constant information, constant knowledge, constant experiences, and these things accumulate. And when we get to a certain point in our brain where that data is all processed, then we can evolve into the next level. But it is a process that has to be done so that it doesn't overload the human brain.
Okay. Dimensions. I always thought dimensions were like you've got depth. So if you think of a cube, you've got height, width, depth. That's our that's our 3 dimensions.
That's a perception of visual range. So dimensions.
Fourth dimension is time. Fourth dimension is time.
No, there is no such thing. Well, time is a man-made constructed word and tool, or a tool that we design for this realm. In higher dimensions, they do not. There is no such thing as time. They see things as everything happening right here and now. And the present is of the most importance. So, you know, dimensions are higher levels of consciousness, you know, and as we evolve higher up, we may eliminate the time factor, but we can't eliminate everything that we're used to overnight. It would be too overwhelming.
So Nancy, if they don't have time, how can do they have such a thing as entropy in their realm? Does a cup of coffee or an alien cup of coffee, does that go cold? Do leaves fall off a tree? Do they, as I take it, they are biological beings? Do they get old, die? Does entropy play a part if time doesn't exist in their realm? Because one can't without the other, surely.
Well, the way it works there is that they live much, much longer lives than we do. Okay. And food consumption is not a glorious, wondrous thing. For them, the consumption is for energy, and they do not eat 3 times a day. Grays do not eat like we do at all. They make a nutrient paste and rub it into their skin, and it's absorbed in, and then it is excreted out through their skin. Humanoids will make a nutrient tablet, or it's more like our taking a vitamin, and they'll take the vitamin or the nutrients that they need for energy as needed, as their body responds and needs it. They get a response that they need it, and then they will take it. So it may only be once a week, or maybe have a different extraterrestrial. It may be twice, depending on what. And they do not sleep like we do. They're not humans. So we have to stop trying to compare and relate our human ways to theirs, because there is no humanizing anything. They're not human. They're not human at all.
Do they have a concept of do they have a concept, if there isn't any time, of like what's the word, a cup of coffee going cold from hot? Do they have a concept of us? If they were to take me, they know that they would look at me and go, cool, blimey, he's a bit rough around the edges, and he's not going to improve with time. Would they have that concept? Or would they go, because I'm out there with them, I would be perpetually as I am? Do you see what I mean? What I'm getting at?
I think, okay, I'm 64 years old. Okay. To them, I am a baby. I am a baby. This is nothing, because they live much, much longer lives.
You look very good for your age, by the way. Thank
you very much. So in their reality, when their vessel, these are vessels that we are in, when this vessel ends, our consciousness and our soul moves on to a new experience. Our souls and our consciousness are immortal. We just continue on and on, having different experiences. It never ends. So in their reality, when they reach a point, and they know ahead of time that their vessel is at the point of where it needs to be transferred, so they don't die like we die. They can create a new vessel in a matter of what we would call 3 days, and have it ready. And then it's just a transfer into their soul and their consciousness, their essence transfers into a new vessel.
Okay. Can I, just to change tack entirely, can I ask you this?
Yes.
What do you understand of their feeling towards our religion, mass religion, people believing in, because we have a habit of almost in a way blind faith. We have more experiences nowadays with paranormal and with cryptids and aliens than we do with the divine. We have more interactions with those than we do with the divine. How did they feel about religion en masse? I'm not going to pick out, and I prefer not to pick out any one religion, because it's a little bit of a touchy subject at the moment. But as a whole, how do they feel about us believing in a deity?
They believe in a creator source, and they also believe we are all one. We are all connected, meaning we are in unity and one. So we are all energy beings, and we all are part of creator source. We are all connected, one. So they do not oneness. When I say we are all one, that means they do not break down into different religions. There is no separation. In unity, there is no separation. And this is something that through our evolution, we will learn that our differences divide us. These things were done intentionally in this 3D realm to separate human beings from each other. Differences in, we label where we come from, like you're from the UK, I'm from the United States. In their reality, they do not do that. That is a division. They're not vocal, we're vocal. So we say, I am Nancy, you say you are Phil. In their reality, they do not do that, because they are telepathic. Their frequency is their signature and who they are. It's their identity. So there is no name, no reason to put names and labels on everything.
Okay, I
So
got it.
yeah.
I get you. I get you. Yeah. Although I must say, you lot do drive on the wrong side of the road.
What do you mean?
um,
But as far as
uh,
religions, you know, they don't believe that in religions. You know, they don't do that. They don't practice that because that is separation. That's like one saying it's better, or you know, they know something the other doesn't know, and that is not unity at all.
okay. All right. So they don't have um they don't have a hierarchy of their belief ends and stops with themselves. So they're quite animalistic. So really, a dog knows nothing of why it's here. It just knows it's here. It doesn't
That's
have.
your perception. A dog probably is at a higher frequency than a human being. We
Mm,
think we are the top dogs on this planet, but we are not. There's life going on all around us, and we don't even see that. Plants are living conscious beings and they communicate. And I have seen them. They have showed me visions and opened up, put me in forests and
mm.
showed me where trees and plants are living conscious beings and they all communicate. The problem is in our 3D realm, we are limited. Our visual range is locked into only seeing
Mm.
around us, and we only use our five senses to understand the world and the universe around us. But
Yeah.
there's
No,
more out there outside of that, and
yeah.
that's part of our evolution. Is our visual range will awareness will increase. What seemed as paranormal won't be so paranormal. It will be, you know, it won't happen overnight, but we're going to visually start seeing things, and they're not hiding from us in our skies or in our waters or, you know, just in our air above us. We just can't see them. They're not hiding. They're there. We just
Mm.
are not at the consciousness level and awareness level to visually see these things. But
Oh
that's
yeah, no,
that's
I don't
changing.
get me wrong. I mean, I've got two Jack Russells, and I wouldn't be without them. They're lovely, lovely pups. They're getting on a bit now. But they've been a lifesaver in the past because they can sense what is around them, especially in the cryptid world that I go into. They're absolutely amazing. But at the end of the day, yeah, one of them, especially still eats cat crap. So it's just one of those things.
Yeah,
I am on a higher level than that. I know that. But
yeah.
uh, another thing I wanted to ask you was talking about cryptids. I remember watching a podcast where you said that you were on almost a cryptid hunt with a council of aliens or group of aliens. Could you explain that a little bit for
They
me?
were what I would call dimensional explorers and or dimension keepers.
Mm,
Um, and they were of many different races, aquatic beings, grays, humanoids, interdimensionals, you know, a whole bunch of different ones. And they were on a craft and they were looking for, at that time that I was with them, they referred to them as creatures or beings that were in in an area. They had ventured out of, say, their dimension and they were exploring, but they were starting to create havoc. And havoc
mm,
would mean either if they were in the if they were in our dimension, they would be creating fear, frantic behavior among
mm,
humans,
yeah.
or it could also mean that they were not bothering anybody, and that people that are so-called cryptid hunters were out there, and some of them may possibly not be of a good nature towards these beings, and you know, so for that reason they would come in and relocate them to for their safety. You know, so it's all about maintaining a balance and a safety, and you know, keeping 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 the
Okay.
balance of nature kind
Okay.
of in the dimensional realm.
Okay. That's great. Well, so um, they how did they explain to you with Bigfoot and any other cryptids? Did they explain to you who created them, how they got there? Was it from the aliens? Was it DNA manipulated that created these entities?
I don't ask a lot of questions like that. And usually when I do, they tell me you already know, which I found that what I have to do is just kind of like meditate on it. And then when I go into dream state, then a lot of my questions will be answered that way. But, you know, as far as saying exactly, they have souls. So the creator source, the same creator that created us, created them. We're all one, we're all connected. So we all come from the same source.
Okay. Right. So would you say that when I'm working on my frequency,
Mm-hmm.
would you say that it's my brain that has to actually, because I only use about 10%, less than that. I use less than most people actually, but is it my brain that has to be triggered, or is it my consciousness that has to be triggered? What's the difference? Is there a difference? Do you know?
It's encoded in our DNA, but also it's activated by our awareness and, which direction we lead ourselves in. If we lead ourselves into being a more positive version of ourselves and are open up and become more aware of things, these things will trigger certain things
Mm,
in our DNA, where if we just sit complacent and do nothing, chances
mm,
are we're not going to evolve any further. There's
mm.
no stimulation to increase that in us.
Do you think that our consciousness, when you're talking about going onto a frequency, our consciousness is maybe a hive consciousness, is external to us? Our
Yes.
mind is external and is on the same plane as them. Do you think that
Well,
is that we're all together in that hive mind?
well, consciousness is outside of an organ of our body. I would say our mind is our human part of our consciousness that is within our brain, that is ours. So what I do is I understand that I have a human consciousness and I have a interdimensional consciousness, or
Mm,
which I would refer to as my subconscious. All that's in my subconscious. And the subconscious and the human conscious, they block sometimes each other from certain knowledge, because it is a way of protecting the human mind so that we will be able to be in
right.
this dimension. This dimension is not an easy dimension to be in. This is the worst dimension, the hardest dimension, the hardest school there is to experience. So, they, for whatever reason, well, I kind of understand, I think now, but, when we get to this planet, our past lives are erased and we're expected to learn from scratch. So, I think though through our ascension and evolution, this will start to change. We're going to start remembering our past as we come in. You'll start noticing younger people will start remembering their past lives and have knowledge. And I think that we will be, in my particular day and time growing up, a lot of times when kids would say something like that, parents would say, you can't talk about stuff like that. It was suppressed. But
Mm,
now we're at an age where I think parents will not suppress that. They must sit there and listen to what their children have to say and understand that this newer generation is more aware, and it's already embedded in their DNA, this awareness and higher consciousness. They're coming in at a higher frequency than what we did.
okay. Thank you. Um,
Mhm.
uh, I remember you saying once on a podcast that you were on a ship. This is with your son and yourself, um, and you had a feeling you were asleep and on the ship, um, and almost like in stasis.
Oh,
And
I know what you're talking about
and
now.
and the time we're living in now, was a dream. Is a dream now. This is all a dream while you're in stasis. So
Yeah,
you're on a ship, you were
sure.
with your son, and this was all a dream.
Well, my son, I have two sons, both have all of the contact and experiences and awakenings that I have had. The oldest one has we gifted us both Kundalini awakenings, not at the same time, and we don't live together, but in the
Mm,
general time range. So, and the youngest one, I figure he either has or fixing to, and he has all these things, but he's not as outspoken in the public as my son and I are, or I'm the gang leader, I guess you would say. But
mm,
so he and I were sitting and discussing. We have deep conversations about this because, we're here as human beings having a human experience just like everybody else. And, we enjoy our deep conversations of trying to understand all of this phenomena because it is the deeper you go, the deeper it gets. And once you think you know something, you realize there's so much more to know. It's never ending. So he and I were talking, and he and I both have so much activity in our dream states, and it's some days it feels exhausting in our human world. It feels very exhausting because of the physical and mental activity in our dream state. So sometimes we feel like that
mm.
we are in a sleep stasis on a mothership.
Hmm.
This everyday life is the actual dream, you know?
Do you
So,
believe that to be true? Do you believe that to be true now? So we are, but there's an older, it's a lovely, I forget now where it comes from. If someone tells me in the comments, that'd be brilliant. It'll save me Googling it. Was it, life is but a dream within a dream? Is it
I
that?
don't claim to know everything, but I know I'm given visions and I'm given information, and I have a human brain just like everybody else. And it's a
Mm,
process for me to, sometimes what they told me 30 years ago when they first told me that
mm.
I made a choice to come to Earth and be a part of all this. When I
Okay.
was like in my 30s, did I understand it all then? No. It took many,
Mm,
many years for me to process and understand. I was an
okay.
interdimensional being before I came here. So, you
Well,
know, I don't know everything, but I do think that that's a good possibility that we are in a sleep stasis, and this is the dream. And when we die, we wake up and go, "Wow,"
blimey,
And
do you know what?
also because there is no time, it seems
Well,
like 64 years here, but it could be nothing in the
yeah,
approximate amount of time there. So it's
yeah.
it's
Well, it's
definitely it's deep.
57 years for me, Nancy.
Yeah.
57. December the 7th, my birthday, but I only accept presents if they're wrapped, if you do decide to send one. Um, Now, another thing I wanted to ask was when you've been on these ships,
Mhm.
one ship in particular did spark my absolute, well, all of them have sparked my interest, but the one that really I wanted to know about, because you don't hear anyone talk about this, is you went on a USO. That is a ship,
Oh
a
yeah,
submersible ship that goes under the water.
yeah. I've
Can
done that many times.
what? Many times? No way.
Yes.
Like, oh damn! Oh my! Do you know what? Next time you go, just take me with you. I'd love to go. What? Just hang around, hang around. Just come over to Essex in the ship, pick us up. We'll go. Yeah, and we'll do it. I'd
Mhm.
love to do that. That'd be brilliant. Can you let me know, um, sort of in a bit of detail, what the ship was like, how you got on it, and was there enough any inertial effect? Was there any effect on you when it went into the water? Physical effect? Did you feel anything? Can you give us a bit of a blow-by-blow detail, as it were?
As far as their craft, that's they're living conscious beings, and they're designed to go interdimensional or go in water, and in and pop in and out of our dimension. Which our dimension, they have to lower the frequency, which is not a comfortable thing to be in. So as they go deeper within the water, it's more adaptable. to them than it is being on land because of the density of Earth. So, no, you do not. The way I got on craft was they took me to it, and a lot of times, they don't necessarily walk on the ground like we do. They more like float through the air, and get me to craft. And then when you're inside it, you don't know the difference. You don't know, it's so smooth. That's why you see pictures or hear people say that there's no sound, which there's no sound. And there's no, like on airplanes, how you feel pressurization or you feel the wind or whatever,
Yeah.
You don't experience any of those type things on a
Right, but it wasn't a case of stumbling about, like in the Starship Enterprise, where in the old TV shows, where kind of like, they go into warp or they get hit by a photon torpedo and they kind of like stumble around. It wasn't anything like that when you hit the water.
And see, there again, they do not use propulsion systems. They do not use warp drives. Those are all man-made narratives. Okay. What they do is they link their consciousness with the craft's consciousness. For a UFO small disc, one pilot with their consciousness links to the craft consciousness. Destination is determined, and zam, they go. It's like within a blink, they go.
So the ships are Nancy, are the ships organic?
Yes.
Are they organic? Are they basically a instead of being a ship as in a F-35A fighter we have, which is made of metal and bolts and nuts, and are these things actually living beings, these ships?
Well, they're living conscious beings, and their external case, I'm sure, can change. It can be manipulated through their consciousness to adapt to whatever region or environment that it's in. That's why, they're conscious. Okay, here's an example. Our technology is a separate entity from us. I'm talking to you through my technology. You're talking to me through your technology. If we get up and go out of the house and we need to use our technology, we have to carry it in our hand with us, right?
Yeah.
In their reality, their higher consciousness is their technology. They manifest anything they want. They don't have to carry it around like a separate entity like we do. So that's why, we keep trying to humanize and rationalize these things with human thinking. They're way above that. They're way beyond that.
The only thing that troubles me, is for all intents and purposes, the way you describe them, they almost seem ethereal beings. But after witness reports, including yourself, they're very much not ethereal. They're physical, which means that having physical, they must have needs. They must have the need for. We know about the food. But they must have need. Or why would they in evolution? Why, when we see them, and I'm sure the ones which came for you, have arms. Different to us, granted, but they have arms and they have legs. Why then in evolution did they need to have those arms and legs if they have everything they needed with their frequency and their mind?
They can manifest any image they want to. They have proved that to me. They can use whatever physical form they want, and they can create a new physical form in less than 3 days, of our time. And their time, that's probably just a blink of an eye. But, so there's different types of extraterrestrials. There are some that appear as gray, some that appear as all these things, but they can appear in any form they want. They can also be non-physical and stay in an etheric state. And the interdimensionals, the highest level of extraterrestrials, they stay in that state all the time unless they want to make an appearance here on Earth. Then they will change into what they do with me is they'll pull an image from my mind that I'm comfortable with, depending on whatever the scenarios that they're coming to visit me. They pull an image that I'm comfortable with, and then they will talk and interact with me that way.
Mm.
For example, I was in a hospital and they manifested in the room and had on scrubs, green scrubs, and they looked like a political leader that I knew was not in my room. It was like it's in a way that you're comfortable, but you also know it is not that person. You know that it's them, just like I knew. But because of them, the manifestation,
Mm.
and give you time to adapt and understand the purpose and meaning of the experience, they do things that way. Everything they do is for a purpose and has a meaning to it.
When you've been out and about on your in your day, and you haven't been taken, you get up and you think, okay, I'm going to carry on with my day. You'd spend a bit of time in the garden. You go out to the shops. Have you ever recognized a person in the street or seen a person on the TV or news and known that they are alien?
When I was out shopping, you know, grocery shopping, and then just at a not a convenience store, but like a dollar store type place. I've seen humanoid extraterrestrials integrating and shopping and moving among, mingling around people. And the reason I knew who they were is because of the frequency. You know, they come from higher frequencies, and they have to lower their frequency to be able to come down here and interact.
Mm-hmm.
And they can only do that for a certain period of time that I know of. Anything's possible. But,
Mm.
I would see them mingling around, shopping, having a cart, moving around. The other thing that I kind of indicated to me was their choice of clothing is not necessarily, it goes unnoticed by anyone else, but for me, it seemed out of place for the period of time. It looked to me more like they had gone through a dress rehearsal closet of a movie theater or something and just pulled things out, that were not time, they were blended together things, but not time
Like odd,
appropriate.
like
Yeah.
odd mixtures of
Yeah.
clothes, you mean?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
all right,
So,
right.
but it is they still emit a frequency. So that's how I know.
Hmm.
They recognize me, and as I gravitated towards them and took interest and was watching, they did the same towards me until
Okay.
we were like smack dab in line together around all these other people, and neither one of us, you know, telepathically, they let me know that they knew that I know, and they knew who I was. But as far
Okay.
as like verbalization in front of other people, no.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Another thing, when you've been on the ship, if they take these, I know I'm kind of like ballparking around here, but I'm going for
That's
one. But
okay.
so much to cover. I just love talking to you. Do have you ever seen any of these so-called entities that we call Bigfoot, Dogman on their ships being held captive, if you like, until they get taken away to a safe place away from us? Have you ever seen one of these?
I know
Or
that I know that if they have one that's aggressive, which I don't know what that means necessarily, what we consider aggressive is, in higher realms, there is no negativity or whatever. But for whatever reason, if they were to move them, maybe their curiosity got the best of them, etc. Uh, they will contain them, but I never saw like where that would be. But I don't. There are no prisons or compartments that they still would have free roam around, and
right?
stuff like that. But they would move them to wherever need be.
Okay. Do you know what specifically? Um, what aliens are we talking about when we talk about these aliens that are interacting with you? Which aliens are they?
Many different races. They all work together. Where I go is a mothership, and it's got the grays. of many different, there's over 60 different races of grays in many different colors, different heights, different facial features. There's Nordics, many different ones. There are humanoids, many different ones. There's what I call the interdimensionals, and they're not as physical. They're more etheric, physical looking, more etheric, and they are what I would consider, or what I would call, elders, or the shining ones, or they're the ones that have been around the low. They're the oldest of all of them.
Yeah. So, you know them to all kind of like get on, because I've been told in the past that the greys are really quite hated. They're not particularly the nicest, and the other collective on the council, if you like, don't really get on with them, don't like them. Is this something that you've been privy to, that you know, or do you think are you sure they all get on?
They all get along. They all get along. And there's many, many different races of them. And there's many, many different races of reptilians. And reptilians are a part of this craft as well. And, I don't know where all this information comes, but it is misinformation or misunderstanding. And I'm not saying people are lying, but I'm saying their perception might be wrong. And I think that grays and reptilians have been stereotyped because of the way they look. And I do know from my experiences with a hybrid female gray that I love and adore, and she loves and adores me, that she comes across as being robotic. She is biological and she has a soul. But her mannerism is very cold. It is very task oriented. There is no emotional, movements of and they're telepathic. They don't smile. They don't whatever. They don't use facial features. However, in telepathic messages, you can sense sometime inflection to give it more meaning, to understand. But even with the hybrids, when I telepathically with them, it's more of a bland telepathic message, where when I'm on craft around the full blood grays and the full blooded other beings, I can sense whether they're male or female, and I can certainly sense inflection if they want to emphasize something. I can sense that, or if they want to be a little comical, I can sense that. Where the hybrid grays that were created by the tall grays and the interdimensionals, it's just it's bland. It's bland, and a lot of people think that they have a bad bedside manner, which that's just who they are. That's part of their being.
Okay, just a quick question: how many tongues do they have? A gray
tongues?
Yeah,
I don't know that they even have a tongue.
Okay, all right. I just wondered. That's all. I wondered if you've ever seen a tongue. A grey tongue.
No, they wouldn't have a purpose for it.
It's just the thought came into my head. That's all. I read something. I read something somewhere. Anyway, another question is, are you okay with all this, or do you want a break? You okay with all this?
Fine.
Okay, that's good. Right. Excellent. If you want a break, just let us know. Okay. All right. One thing I was going to ask was, some of the reputation that they have, I can see it as being maybe the government kind of employing methods to say, look, they're really evil. The reptilians are really evil because they look evil. I get it. I get what you're saying. And people swallowing that, going, now, they do look quite evil.
Yeah. Terror cells, fear cells.
Yeah, terrifying, awful. But also, I do take credible people's witness accounts into consideration, and majority of them do say one about the greys, that they like to take people and they like to prod and they like to poke and they almost like to frighten people on board these ships. So what would you say to those people that had been taken and testified that, yes, I was taken and I was put under duress and frightened out of my wits. They even implanted things in me and they probed me, which wasn't very nice. What would you say to those people?
That is a ridiculous perception. And I'm not saying that they're lying. I mean, they may have truly perceived that's what the experience was. But I do know from my experiences, and I've experienced extreme fear, but I also know them. And they come from a higher frequency. And in their reality, they do not experience fear. They do not experience these negative emotions or anger or any of these things. So when they have contact with a human being, and if they're extremely fear, they're telepathic. So whatever you're thinking, they know, but they also, whatever you're feeling, they feel 10 times the amount. So they don't like this. It doesn't feel good. It's not, something they're used to. So they will touch you on the forehead or use their higher consciousness and black you out. And that's why people come back a lot of times saying they have missing time or they have fragmented memories. And that is because they cannot handle that frequency or those emotions and stuff. And it just makes it easier because they're not there to teach you a psychology lesson. They're there on a mission and a purpose. And most people do not understand the fact that we made a choice to come to Earth as a soul. Our souls made a choice to come to Earth. And our souls also make what we call soul contracts or soul agreements. And in these soul contracts and agreements, and also we experience free will, in these soul contracts and agreements, some people make an agreement to come to Earth and be part of this evolutionary process of humanity on Earth. And they have made an agreement to have interaction with these extraterrestrials, but they don't remember it. So when it occurs, it is fear. But they do not interact with people unless you're either of direct lineage, which I am of direct lineage, or that you've made a soul agreement with. So you're blacked out, you come back, and so our brains will understands all it remembers is extreme fear, which is real, because it's not what they look like. It is the frequency exchange between a human being and a higher dimensional being, a higher frequency. It is overwhelming. It is, the brain just does not know what to do with this. You don't experience this in everyday life. So the brain knows that there's missing time. It will try to fill in this time, and it will use the data in your brain, either from your core belief system or your influences and information inside. And that's how it projects the experience to you. And it's very, very real to you, but it's not the real reality of what occurred.
Interesting. It's a little like chicken and the egg, though. Sort of, we had the choice before we were born what we wanted to be. I mean, I'm not too sure whether I'd really want to come here again, to be honest.
But I say that, everybody says that, but we're thinking with our human mind, our soul has a whole different thing going on. And that's why I say this part of this evolution is for us to get in tune with our inner soul.
But that's what I say. That's what I say about the soul. You get coma patients, right? You get coma patients. This is what I say about the soul. We've got our brain inside our head, right? Okay. Now this can go real Carl Jung now, but I'm not going to go real Carl Jung because I don't know enough about Carl Jung. But we have the physical brain inside our heads, right? Now, coma patients, they very often flatline. Yeah, no, don't die, but the synapses and the electrical signals going to the hippocampus isn't there, isn't firing. It's basically flatlined in their head.
Yeah.
And yet, when they do come to, they wake up and they go, "Nurse, thank you for coming in, holding my hand. I saw my wife come in. My wife kissed me on my forehead. Thank you very much. It was ever so lovely." How, unless I don't think it's so much a soul. I think it is maybe a mind, an external mind, and that's what I'm
That's your
wondering.
higher consciousness. It is not our consciousness and our soul are not in an organ in our body.
Mm.
It's outside, and
It's
it's
external.
observing. Yes, and it's observing all of this. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So one day, hopefully, that external hive mind will trigger our brain, and our brain, instead of using 10%, will start using 15 or 20%. That's what you're basically saying. Yeah.
Well, that's
Okay.
part of our evolution is reaching higher levels of consciousness. Basically, we are like, you remember when the TVs first came out and your mom and
Yeah.
dad went and put the
Yeah.
TV and set it on the counter or whatever, and it
Yeah.
had like the antennas, and your
Yeah.
dad or your mom sitting there moving
Yeah.
it around, trying to
Yeah.
find that radio wave, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
basically, we are like little antennas. Our brains, our pineal gland and stuff are like little antennas, if you will.
Mm.
And as we reach higher levels of consciousness, our little antennas are tapping into new frequencies of information, new frequencies of consciousness, new frequencies of awareness. So it's basically the same thing. We're just, that's why I say dimensions are not physical places. It's higher levels of consciousness, intelligence, awareness, and it's us tapping into all that information. It's there and it's just waiting for us to reach it.
That's why terminology sometimes get confusing, because when
Yeah.
someone says, oh, there's another dimension, if another dimension came into our three dimensions, well, it's debatable about fourth dimension being time, but we won't
Yeah.
go there.
And it's
But
not us, it
then it
coming
would be
into us. It is us
yeah.
reaching our
Oh
antenna
yeah.
out into it.
Yeah, I get it. But when people say, "Oh, it's another dimension," if another dimension came into our existence, like a cue ball hitting a pack of balls, our known like Milky Way and the universe would just scatter everywhere because of the quantity of matter that would be here. So when people say another dimension, I'll be like scratching my head, like, "Hang on a minute, there is not. It couldn't. It'd be impossible." But I get what you mean. You're more kind of in a way like me. Yeah, ultra terrestrial, ultra dimensional, as it were, sort of a way. Yeah, that's it. Now another quick thing before, because I've got Rick Allen, who sent a message.
Okay.
He said, Nancy, what is the difference between kidnapping a person and SA them, and what a grey does when it abducts a person and probes?
They do not probe.
abduction Isn't alien abduction a crime? So
No.
with the accounts, would you count that as being a crime?
No. The individual made a soul agreement prior to, they don't remember it, but they made an agreement. Their soul made the choice to be here. Their soul is what leaves this planet and continues on with these experiences and knowledge. The human consciousness, if we don't get in tune with it, it may not evolve to the point of knowing that it was here to serve a purpose. But anyway, the difference is, number one, they do not use probes. They are billions of years ahead of us in evolution. So if you think about the technology that we use now, okay, and then add 1 billion years to it, it's through their consciousness that they do any of their surgical procedures. They can scan our body and see what's wrong with it. They can't scan our bodies and do anything. They've been around for billions of years since our creation. Our DNA has forever been in their data bank because they played a part in our creation. There is no such thing as stealing the eggs and sperms. Yes, some people may have made agreements to use part of their DNA, but it is not in the humanized way of thinking of how it would be used or developed. Because,
Okay.
that's kind of ridiculous when you realize they're 1 billion years ahead of us and they do their surgeries through higher consciousness. There are no tools. There is no separate entity. They don't have to, use a knife to cut. They can, do these things, go within your own body. I've had this done to myself.
Oh,
You
what have you
realize
done? What have you done? What have you done?
They told me to lay really still, and this interdimensional came in, and an essence or a fractal of him, an essence or a fractal of him, went into my body and went around exploring, and he was working on my kidneys, and I was talking to some female extraterrestrials that kind of look more like a felines, really. And we don't have a name for those on Earth, or if we do, I don't know. I don't look into all the Earth narratives of things. Anyway, so I look over and start to talk to her, and he telepathically tells me, "Please be quiet. I'm working on your kidneys."
Right. Okay.
Yeah, because my moving and talking was interrupting his work. Yeah.
Okay. Right. Have you got any recollection of is there any scarring? Is there anything to?
Oh, absolutely
you
not.
know?
No. There's no scarring. They don't use.
No, I get you. One thing I just to recap a little bit, you said that when you with the greys that they're absolutely devoid of any emotion in their face and any emotion in themselves.
No, I did not. I said that they're within their facial features, they will not emanate necessarily
smiling,
a smile or a comical look, and that's mostly the hybrid version of them. The real version of them can be very comical, and I don't know that they really can look comical, but I know that through their telepathic messages, they can be comical and they can be loving, and they do bond. Then they have, they usually have one dependent or one child, I guess, or whatever they call it. There would be a younger being, and they do mate and bond with one individual. And, of course, they don't do the sexual process like we do. They could if they wanted to, I guess, but I think they do. As we progress in our genetics, we're going more of a pick and choose, eye color, pick and choose, removing diseases and that. So they've evolved way above all that, where they can have.
Have you clocked any? Have you when you've seen a grey? When you've seen a grey, Nancy, have you ever clocked if it's got any genitalia?
I have sit and touched and rubbed on them and embraced and loved and feel the temperature of their skin. And I do not look for things like that. A lot of people think that they're naked. They're not naked. They wear a very tight knitted, very tight material that we don't have here on Earth. If you looked at it hanging somewhere, it would be very tiny, but they put it on and it stretches and fits immaculate to their body. So
and it doesn't show
the same color as their skin. Yeah.
But it doesn't. You haven't noticed any bulges or anything like that in a.
No, I don't. I don't.
Okay, right. Okay, just wanted to clarify that. All right.
But there is male and female. I do know that.
There is there?
Oh yeah, the female that I'm bonded with. I mean,
Yeah, but that one's grown. That's a made. That's not a. That's a. You said that is a genetically or DNA made.
Biological being that's able to come down into our atmosphere whenever, and it doesn't seem to affect them. Was tweaked to be able to do that function, but she is still biological. She can still have an offspring. She could still mate.
Okay.
So,
yeah. Okay. So another question that people are going to be asking, and I'm kind of like going to ask it on their behalf. What's going on with the cattle mutilations?
That is something that human beings are doing to instill fear within.
No, come on, they can't be.
Well, I can tell you this: there is no reason or purpose for an extraterrestrial. They have been around for billions of years. They do not need the DNA. They do not use laser cut stuff. They don't cut anything. They don't need to. They do not. Their consciousness can manifest anything they want. And there's of no use or purpose.
Okay.
And they consider all living creatures on this planet just as high, just as intelligent and of purpose as we are, because we are all one. We are all connected. There is absolutely no way. And the people that do this, as we become more aware and more conscious, our intellects will grow. We will understand all this misinformation and all of the ugliness that has been done to try to keep us locked into this negative realm of thinking, because we can't ascend as long as we believe and fall for this manipulation. And that was the pure purpose of it, was to never let us reach higher levels of consciousness, because the ones that are controlling us, this higher elite human beings, they will no longer have control, regardless of how much money they have. They will never, ever be able to manipulate and control us again. And they do not want to lose this power. They don't want to lose the power more than they care about losing the money. It's the power they feed on.
Do you think that with the cattle mutilations, it's something to do with, we call them cryptids, like chupacabra, dogman, Bigfoot, not Bigfoot, but
no,
do you think
the only negative things on our planet within this 3D dimension that we're in are human beings.
Okay, right. So they've got no control over these dogmen, as far as you know. They've got no agenda to use these cryptids. There's
no, they are on their own. They don't as long as they only time they get involved with them is when they are interfering with humanity in a negative way. Then they will either move them, or relocate them, or take them back to where they belong. They are the dimension keepers, but they don't punish them or anything like that, unless they just move them.
They just moved only if they cause threat to us. Is that it?
Yes, or if we are a threat to them, they will move them. We are aggressive. We are, who's to say that where you're out looking for it for pure knowledge and whatever, there are some human beings that would love to dissect them and do horrific things and glorify and put them on the wall. Like, look this is my trophy. Look what I did.
Yeah.
And that's inhumane. And, it's disrespectful, and they're not going to allow that. So they protect them just as much as they protect us, because they are living conscious beings and they have a right to their life cycle. We should not take advantage of anything's life cycle and abuse it. Just like we have our planet Earth, that needs to stop. And just like we do with animals, that needs to stop, because we've never recognized them as living conscious beings, and they are.
Okay. I've got a question again, Nancy, from Rick. There is a reason for ETs doing it: fear. Do you think that's
not? They don't. The fear is based from our own perception. The fear is based from our society around us, what influences they have, what movies, what books, what magazines, what we've heard other people say. The fear is not anything that they instill in you. When I was young, when this started for me, my first conscious memories was 2 or 3. It was beautiful. Nothing in the world had influenced me. So it was what it was. And I looked forward to it. And it was fun. But when I got to junior high school age, the world had influenced me. And I started to question my experiences. And then I created my own fear from this misinformation that I received. So when I came in contact with them at their higher frequency, it enhanced my fear, which enhanced them feeling what I was feeling. So that's why they black people out, is because it's just too much. They're there for a limited amount of time, and they're there for a purpose. And they're not here to play psychology with us like, hey, just because you read that book, that's not what we're here for. They don't have time for that, because they know. Unlike I know, but I didn't always know. But they knew at the time of the occurrence of the experience for a human being that we would eventually get to this point now where we're going through this evolutionary leap, and we'll be tapping in to all truth, all information, our history of the planet, our true origins, understanding our experiences, the purpose of it, and what agreements that we made in our prior soul self made. All this knowledge will be obtained, and that's part of a gift of our evolution to understand who we are, our purpose here on this planet, and our uniqueness, and what importance we will play to the cosmic realm.
Well, they got a hell of a job on their hands at the moment with all
We've been
the
working on this since
wars
before
and stuff going on. Yeah,
They've
they
been
got a hell
working
of.
on this since our creation, and we're just now getting close enough to the point of getting close, and now it's time for us to get prepared. It's a preparation period now. It's going to happen. It's inevitable.
Yeah, but there's so much
We have to
negativity.
prepare
There's so much negativity now, Nancy. It's like kind of it's global negativity. It's like kind
Yes.
of every
things
fraction's
happen.
warring.
Well, as we ascend and we start reaching higher frequencies and trying to be the better version, not the perfect version, we're human, we try to be the better version. In order for us to understand the difference between dark and light or good and bad, some of this evil does have to surface for us to witness. That way, when we see it, then we know our life cannot go on in this direction. We must change in our thinking. We must change in our way of living, because we're headed to a World War III. So these things needs to be they've got more and more negativity and ugliness and things around the world will be exposed, so that we know which route we need to go.
Do you think and I don't want to get too deep into this because it opens up a whole hornet's nest, all right? It does open up a hornet's nest, but I do want to mention, do you think that God and religion that we know and we've grown up with for over 2,000 years, even longer, do you think that's failed us? And that's why people are starting to turn to
I don't think it failed us. I think
aliens
no, I think it served a purpose. You know, you have to look at life like this. The good and the bad, it all served a purpose. It has made us who we are today. With this new knowledge and this new awareness and perception of things, it's what we do now that's most important. Anything that ever happened to us made us stronger. It made us understand more about right and wrong. It made us to know we had to fall to be able to get up. And the best way I can explain this is like if we walk up to a cocoon, the caterpillar turns into the cocoon. In the cocoon, the cocoon's sitting there like this, and you see it struggling to get out.
Yeah.
And we stand there and we want to help it. We think, oh, you know, that poor thing's been doing this for all day, and this morning I'm just going to help. I'm going to start picking at it and helping it out.
Yeah.
By doing that, you are actually killing it, because it needs to go through that complete cycle and process to learn how to cope with the outside world, to learn how to build muscle strength to deal with the outside world. It had to go through the good and the bad of getting out of that cocoon to become the beautiful butterfly. And that's basically,
I love that. I love it.
That's what humans are doing. We have to go through the bad and the good to get us to where we are now. And so as we come out as this new beautiful butterfly, it's what we do and our choices now.
I love that analogy.
Think about
that is a lovely analogy. That's really, honestly, it's such a lovely analogy. Yeah, that sums it up quite well.
Well, you have to think about it. Do we want to just be a generation that could possibly end, or do we want to be the generation that continues on for billions of years, just like the extraterrestrials and interdimensional, all these beings have been able to do? And they're here,
but why not?
Hand. They're not trying to take over or anything. That all they want to do is assist, because we are like children, and our technology is getting way above our mental thinking, and we could destroy ourselves, and they don't. Well, the thing is, we could destroy more than ourselves. We could destroy our planet Earth and every living creature on it and they're not going to let that happen. And it would ripple out into the universe and affect them, because we are all one. We are all connected. As above, so below. Whatever we do will affect other things, and we just don't seem to realize that.
Got another question, Nancy. It's from Rick again. Does Nancy believe that there is one controlling group of ETs above all others?
No, they don't. They work in, they are a unit, work in unity. You know, they have respect for, say, the interdimensionals that are the elders. You know, there's a respect level, but it is not, you know, they have respect for each other. You know, they're just older and wiser. It's just like the way that we look at a senior, you know, our parents, you know. So
Right.
they don't consider it as a leader. It's more of a steward or a guide.
Okay. Why, you know, when we were before I was born, right? And I had a choice, and I decided to be born and be here now. Why didn't, if I could have been an alien, and if originally, I don't like the word alien really, but I could have been another entity, but why at source didn't they change my code so that I wouldn't be as possibly aggressive, maybe you know, if they changed the code, say if a tyrant like Hitler, if they changed his code at source, why couldn't they have the power to do that? Why didn't they?
We're here on free will, and this is or was, it's ending a dimension of where all negative things can occur. So some people came here to participate in negativity. Some of us, like me, came here to change the human experience. You know, some people came here for whatever reasons. We all had a choice, and we're all here on free will. I know that I came here to help people understand that we can change the human experience by ascension and raising our frequency and becoming the better version of a human being. We can have longer lives. You know, we can have better choices. We can live without manipulation and control. So, you know, and when we leave this planet and our soul and our consciousness goes to our source of where we came from, to our source, we can make decisions on what we want to try next. If we have met all our agreements and soul agreements and things we wanted to experience here on Earth, we don't have to come back to Earth unless we want to. And then we can choose to be a dolphin, or we can choose to be an extraterrestrial, or go to a different galaxy and be in a different race of beings. There's many choices. Or you can get to the point to where you're done with the physical realities of experience, and you can just stay in an etheric, non-physical reality at the highest source, around source, and be part of the whole collective consciousness around creator source.
Yeah. See, I admire you. I do admire you, because it's kind of like quite at the moment with everything going on, it's an uphill struggle, isn't it? And the thing is that what you're saying is borderline with everyone kind of clutching each other's arm in a circle, singing the old Coca-Cola song. You remember that one?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like coming together as one in unity.
Yeah.
When that happens, we're unstoppable.
Yeah, but it's also
when you get that much collective consciousness and love, unity coming together, and it's also in frequency with our planet Earth and every living creature on this planet, all of us together in unity.
But do you ever, Nancy, get worried though that, you know, it will be classified by people, you know, what you're doing as a cult? Do you ever get worried that will be classified as like what you're doing is like a cult offshoot, you know, where everyone?
No,
do you know what I mean?
Because, you know, I don't tell people to believe or follow me. I tell people to look within, understand their inner soul self. You don't have to believe anything I say or anybody else says, and you shouldn't. You should look
No.
within and understand your purpose, your role on this planet, because we all chose to be here. We all are unique and can be a part of this, and we can be the generation that made the change that this world has been waiting on. And we can also be, added to the cosmic realm as being very, think about it, to be a race of beings that have come through this much diversity and negativity, and pull ourselves out of that and to become into the better version of ourselves. How unique, how beautiful,
Yeah.
And we don't live the amount of extension of life that other beings do. So this is an amazing thing that we are doing. And that is why all beings, all races, not just one or two, all of them, we are the spotlight. Earth is the spotlight. We are not, we are Earth. We are earthlings to them. We are not Nancy from Mississippi.
Are you?
Tennessee. We are the earthlings of Earth, and we are doing a magnificent thing, and they're all here to witness it.
Nancy, are you aware? Are you aware then of any negative, darker beings, or is it all just positive and the light? Is there any negative or darker beings other than us out there?
Well, in this realm, there are the spirit world. There are, some people that are just negative in our realm, and they came here to be negative, and they do not, as much as I want to pull us out of the negative into a more better version of being a human being and make the human experience be what it was created to be. There is a dark side that wants to keep us at a lower frequency, dumbed down, so that they can manipulate and control and run our planet. And I'm here to not play the game. I'm here to end the game for humanity. I'm here to help humanity in the manipulation. And we can learn to, in so many ways, learn to have the better quality of life, the betterment of the version of humans that we were created to be, which would be less materialistic, less focused on what society has drawn us into. And these things can't happen overnight, but we have to start at some point. And, through this process of being patient and letting evolution run its course and do its thing, that's going to do majority of the work for us. So no, I don't think that, sure, people will attack me. Sure, people will not like me. Sure. I knew that before I ever got involved in this. And that's why they always told me I would know the right time to do this. And my family said, do you know what you're getting yourself into? Yes, I know. And I'm ready and I can handle it. And I know that that's part of it, because they're going to do their part to try to keep the world the way it is. They're in control. They operate the world. And
I had to ask that, Nancy, because it's like one of those things where people watching and people when they I hope they go to your website. It's a great website, and your Facebook page, brilliant. I'm part of it, and I'm very proud part of it. Very interesting topics, very, very interesting, and some
I
great
think people believe in themselves. We have so much potential when we've been told that we're limited by these different things, but we are all very unique and beautiful beings, and we all have the potential to be a better version of ourselves. We may never be perfect, but we can be a better version. So, that's all I can say. Really.
Well, yeah. The thing is, Nancy, as I see it, you're not doing a bad thing. You're doing a positive, good thing. So no matter what criticism you get, you can hold your head up high. You're doing a good, positive motion forward for humankind. So you're not doing anything wrong.
Everybody has their own spiritual path. Everybody has their own choices to make. But I am here to present them with information
Yeah.
so that they do have a choice. There
Yeah,
is an
that's
option.
good.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that, I'm not saying that I myself believe everything,
Yeah.
okay, or agree with everything,
Yeah.
but I like the cut of your jib when it comes to the message you're getting across. I think that is a fantastic message.
Thank
I
you
like
very
that.
much. Yes.
You're more than welcome. If it's okay with you, it's an hour and a half into it. Do you know what? I've really enjoyed chatting to you. It's been absolute
thank you.
pleasure.
I enjoy it too.
And once again, you can catch Nancy at a website, which is timefordisclosure.com. It's on the screen now. And at the bottom, you'll see it going across Nancy's Facebook page. Oh, could you say it, Nancy? I can't say that. It's a hell of a long thing.
Well, yeah, it's time for disclosure / we have never been alone / we are the disclosure, because I believe human beings are the disclosure. We're unique.
We are the disclosure, and it's been an absolute pleasure. I tell you what, I think we should have another little chin wag one day.
Yes, sounds
All
good.
right. Thank you very much, and I appreciate everyone's time in watching, and I hope they've enjoyed watching this as much as I have, being in it with Nancy. It's like absolutely fantastic. You guys take care. Thank you very much indeed, and speak again. Thanks, Nancy.
Bye, everyone. Bye.